Hebrews. This is the Prophets of Awakening. This is our Wednesday night advanced Bible study, the 10th of November, 2021. I'm going to be dealing with the book of Barak that I started last night. I'm going to read some more chapters tonight. This is a non-Messianic channel, for those that don't know. Where we deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. The Tanakh is the Old Testament, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was conveyed to Moses on Mount Sinai by the Lord of hosts. Shalom and welcome to everyone. We're going to do our moment of silence, our prayer, and our songs, then we'll do current events. O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belongeth unto thee. Therefore we come before thee at this hour, seeking thy face, looking for righteousness and uprightness, that we may walk before thee as thy servants David, Solomon, Samuel, and Hezekiah did, that we may walk before thee in truth and in righteousness and in rightness of heart. Give unto us, O Lord, an understanding heart, that we may discern between good and bad. For you possess the power to turn us. For we desire to walk after the Lord, after thee, O Lord, and to keep your commandments, your testimony, the statutes, with all our heart and our soul, to perform the words of this covenant that was written down by your prophets. O Lord, allow thy face to shine upon thy people. Hear our plea, hear and do, O Lord, and hide not thy face from us, for we need you so very much at this hour. Peace be unto you. Okay.
Yes, hallelujah.
We'll read the Psalms. Okay, I'm going to read Psalms 44. It's former deliverances and present troubles. Okay, it says, we have heard with our ears, O God, our fathers have told us what works thou didst in their days, in the times of old, how thou didst drive out the heathen with thy hand and planted them, how thou didst afflict the people and cast them out. For they got not the land in possession by their own sword, neither did their own arm save them, but thy right hand and thine arm and the light of thy countenance, because thou hadst a favor unto them. Thou art my king, O God. Command deliverance to Jacob. Through thee will we push down our enemies. Through thy name will we tread them under that rise up against us. For I will not trust in my bow, neither shall my sword save me. But thou hast saved us from our enemies, and hast put them to shame that hate us. In God we boast all the day long, and praise the name forever. Shelah, but thou hast cast off, and hast put us to shame, and goeth not forth with thy armies. Thou makest us to turn back from the enemy, and they which hate us spoil for themselves. Thou hast given us like sheep appointed for meat, and hast scattered us among the heathen. Thou sellest thy people for naught, and doest not increase thy wealth by their price. Thou makest us a reproach to our neighbors, a scorn and a derision to them that are round about us. Thou makest us a byword among the heathen, a shaking of the head among the people. My confusion is continuously before me, and the shame of my face have covered me. For the voice of him that reproacheth and blasphemeth by reason of the enemy and avenger. All this is come upon us, yet have we not forgotten thee. We have not forgotten thee, neither have we dealt falsely in thy covenant. Our hearts is not turned back, neither have our steps declined from the way. Though thou hast sore broken us in the place of dragons, and covered us with a shadow of death, if we have forgotten thee, the name of our God, or stretched out our hands to a strange God, shall not God stretch this out Search this out, for he knoweth the secrets of the heart. Yea, for thy sake are we killed all the day long. We are counted as sheep for the slaughter. Awake, why sleepest thou, O Lord? Arise, cast us not off forever. Wherefore hidest thou thy face, and forgettest our affliction and our oppression? For our soul is bowed down to the dust, our belly cleaveth unto the earth. Arise for our help, and redeem us for thy mercy's sake. So that was Psalms 44, and it's former deliverance and present trouble. Okay. Any comments on that? Anybody got any comments?
Shalom.
Okay.
I like a lot of it, but I'm just going to read verse 5.
Okay.
Through thee will we push down our enemies. Through thy name will we tread them under that rise up against us. I mean, we can't do this on our own.
Right.
I mean, the Lord of hosts has to save us.
Exactly. It also shines light on the fact that he keep telling us all through the scriptures uh, about his name. And you see right here in 5, he says that through thy name.
Yes.
See, so people want to, put that off as minor, but that's major. Knowing who he is, exactly who he is, and his name and everything is of the utmost importance.
Yes, calling on the right one, only
Right.
one.
Exactly. And that takes us right back to Exodus 23, when he says, uh, "For my name is in him." There's an angel that's running, that's leading you, and my name is in him. Yeah. Yeah.
Shalom.
So I would.
Stood out to me.
What's that?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Verse 3 stood out to me. Okay. Yeah, verse 3. Uh, I see a lot of Israelites today. They seem like we just trying to do this on our own, trying to get reparations, trying
Right.
to,
Exactly. Right.
and we gotta trust the process. Uh,
Right. Right. And also I understand how you operate by looking at what he done in the Old Testament. In days of old, you're gonna do the same thing now.
exactly.
Right. Anybody else?
I was just going to say on verse 7 and 8, we can see God's mighty acts on his behalf of his people. It says it all throughout, the scriptures, just wait on him. 7 says, but thou hast saved us from our enemies and hast put them to shame that hated us. In God we boast all the day long and praise thy name forever. So all we have to do is just wait on the Lord. We know what he's going to do.
Right. Exactly. Right. Yeah, I was looking at how, like I said, when reading this, when you got the right understanding, it says that let me get it. It says 19 says, "Thou hast sore broken us uh, in the place of our dragons and covered us with the shadow of death. But we have forgotten the name of our God, or stretched out our hands to a strange God. Shall not God search this out? For he knoweth the secrets of the heart. Yea, for thy sake are we killed all the day long. We are counted as sheep for the slaughter." So remember that. That's 22. We counted as sheep for the slaughter. Then it says, uh, 24. Wherefore hidest thou thy face and forgettest our affliction and our oppression. So then you go to Isaiah 53. See, it's Israel is the suffering servant. There's another witness. Let me get it right quick. '53. 53 says, it says, verse 3, he is despised and rejected of men, a man of sorrows, acquainted with grief, and he hid as it were our face from him. We just read that. He just said he hid his face. That's an ad. I didn't even see that one. He says, and he hid as it were our face from him, and we was despised, and we esteemed him not. Surely he have borne our grief and carried our sorrows, yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, afflicted. See that? So over here it says, 24, wherefore hitteth thou thy place, and thou forgettest our affliction and our oppression. Then it says in 22 it says, yea, for thy sake we killed all day long, we are counted as sheep to the slaughter. And then over here it says in 7, he was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth, and he is brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as sheep before her shearers dumb, so is he opened not his mouth. So you see, through line upon line, precept upon precept, Israel is being referred to in Psalm 44, and Israel is being referred to in Psalm 53. Okay. Anybody else got anything? Okay. Anybody got any current events? Okay. I got a couple right here. Here go the first one.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. Well, right now, Kamala Harris is finished. She is finished, rightfully so. At 28% approval rating, a lot of people are saying goodbye to Kamala Harris as being a plan B to an aging Biden. I remember early on, I was saying, can you imagine if something did happen to Biden, that Kamala Harris would become the president? So, you know, a lot of people, they get, you know, kind of mixed up in the wrong things. I know a lot of so-called Black people who view her as Black, believe that that is an improvement to have her there, when really she doesn't champion Black causes at all, period, ever. And so we just get ourselves all tied up and tangled up in stuff that has nothing to do with us, right? Anyway, I want you all to listen at some of the reports. A lot of people are just looking at Kamala Harris like, why are you even there? They say that she's barely even noticeable. Okay, so anyway, listen at this brief report, and I will be right back.
She was supposed to be the one-term president's successor. The vice president who would take the torch from a by then 80-something Joe Biden and carry on the administration's agenda while becoming the first woman and the first woman of color to capture the White House as the nation's 47th president. But as things stand now, one has to wonder how Kamala Harris even remains on the ticket in 2024, regardless of who the nominee might be. A USA Today Suffolk University poll finds that just 28% of voters less than 3 in 10 approve of the job Harris is doing. For context, that's 10 points below her boss, 38% approve, 59% disapprove. For more context, Harris was at 46% approval and 40% disapproval upon entering office, per USA Today Suffolk. Harris's struggles are primarily twofold. 1, she's practically invisible. It's been 153 days since her last sit-down interview with a major broadcast news entity, in the form of NBC's Lester Holt. You may recall that was the beginning of the end of the administration's confidence in her abilities to handle even the most basic of questions. Do you have any plans to visit the border? Holt asked. At some point, you know, we are going to the border, Harris replied, before oddly repeating herself as if a short circuit had occurred. We've been to the border. So, this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border. You haven't been to the border, Holt correctly noted. And I haven't been to Europe, Harris snapped before laughing. And, I mean, I don't understand the point that you're making. Since then, the only interview Harris has granted was to The View on ABC. Her own staff couldn't have provided a gentler platform. The vice president has yet to do a solo press conference. Out of sight, out of mind. And when judging Harris solely on the primary task she was given by the president, 23% approve of the administration's handling of the U.S. border, or less than one quarter. 2. Harris was never liked much to begin with. Harris has been dubbed the 2020 presidential candidate. But that's a misnomer because she never even got to 2020 as a candidate. Never got to Iowa or New Hampshire. She was polling lower than even Andrew Yang in her home state of California in December 2019, prompting her to drop out while seeming to blame Democratic voters for misogyny and racism. Harris told Axios at the time, "I have also started to perhaps be more candid talking about what I describe and what I believe to be the elephant in the room about my campaign." Axios, what is that? Harris, electability. Axios, what do you mean? Harris, electability. You know, essentially, is America ready for a woman and a woman of color to be president of the United States?
Okay. Any comments? Any comments on Kamala Harris? What you think? Okay. Okay.
Property sector suffered an additional beating this week as Kaisa Group made a desperate plea for help. Other Chinese property developers began to shake, and the US Federal Reserve sent its first direct warning about potential global contagion. So first up, the Federal Reserve released their semi-annual report on financial stability this Monday. And in it, the Fed pointed specifically to the crisis at Evergrande, China's most indebted developer, warning that China's ongoing property woes could elevate financial stresses in China, which could further strain global financial markets and negatively affect the United States. Evergrande, as we know, sparked fears of contagion back in September when they warned that they might default on debts of more than $300 billion. Since then, we've seen that several other large Chinese property developers are also in trouble. And as we'll discuss in a moment, the panic seems to be spreading to the less leveraged developers too. The Federal Reserve warned that given the size of China's economy and financial system and its global ties, financial stresses in China could strain global financial markets through a deterioration of risk sentiment, pose risks to global economic growth, and affect the United States. Now, this is quite a change for the Fed, as Jerome Powell said back in September, that the debt problems of Evergrande seem particular to China and that there's not a lot of direct United States exposure. A big deadline for Evergrande occurs today when the grace period ends for $3 bond coupons that sum up to $148 million. Evergrande missed the initial interest deadlines last month, and the 30-day grace period runs out today. There's been no indication that Evergrande will miss this payment, and missing it could trigger cross-default clauses amongst their $19.2 billion of outstanding dollar notes and give creditors more room to negotiate. It's a little bit surprising at the time of this recording that there's been no news of a wire transfer, but that could still happen today. Evergrande and Beijing seem to be managing the company's struggles under a bit of a veil of secrecy.
Okay. Yeah, all this stuff happened today, so there's no more to play. We're going to talk about it.
Deadlines without explaining exactly how it's being done. Evergrande did raise around $145 million in recent days by selling a roughly 5.7% stake in Hong Kong-listed Hang Ten Networks Group over the last 3 trading days, according to their regulatory filings. Apart from Hang Ten, Evergrande also sold its UK-based electric motor-making business, Protean, in the last week. This should scrape together enough cash to make this payment. But of course, the dollar-denominated bondholders are not the only people looking for money from Evergrande. More than 1 million home buyers in China are waiting for unfinished apartments, and the company may owe money to just as many construction workers, painters, landscapers, and other employees. It's worth noting that these Chinese property companies have two sets of bond obligations, which are very different from each other. The onshore bonds are local currency denominated, and the offshore bonds are dollar denominated. The offshore dollar denominated bonds have no legal claim on offshore assets. They call them bonds, but any serious investor will tell you that they're more like senior equity. The real question here is to what extent China cares about burning offshore investors. It seems at the moment that she is more intent on punishing the wild developers than protecting offshore bondholders. Ashmore Group, BlackRock, UBS, and HSBC are large owners of these dollar-denominated bonds. And recent news articles say that Goldman Sachs Asset Management have been buying, but I'm told not very much by people in the space. The risk of asset bubbles in a sector that accounts for the majority of household wealth in the country. This does not appear to have worked very well. Chinese property prices have rocketed over the period, and homeowner debt is huge. Now that the real estate industry is contracting and developers are defaulting, officials in some regions appear to be acting to prevent price declines. A group of homeowners in Wuhan
Yeah, so listening to this guy right here, you can see it's China got their own woes. It's like America's in a pickle. We see China is hemmed up too. A lot of stuff going on. Yeah, so I mean, like I said, I can't see this thing happening too much more longer the way it's going. It's gonna have to something's gonna give real soon. It's too many moving parts, and all of them is chaos. Any comments? Okay, I'm gonna play this right here before I open it up for Q&A. This is got to do with I was telling you about David Icke, the guy that wrote the book. I can't remember the name of the book, but I recommended it. The biggest secret. So I'm gonna play this right here real quick.
Transformation of human society is overwhelmingly not.
Yeah, I was telling you about it. It's the 10 toes. They tell to make it out to be. Daniel tells us it's 4 beasts that's coming upon the earth, but they try to make it out. These 10 toes is a 5th beast, saying that the Antichrist coming and these 10 toes is 10 kings. They're gonna unite with him, but that ain't what the scripture says. The scripture says there's 4 beasts, and we see right now we're at the end of this 4th beast. So I was breaking that down and showing you that the 4th beast transformed itself 10 different times. And America was the 9th transformation. Great Britain was the 8th. Then they ended up leaving Great Britain, coming to America, and they set America up. Being America ended up becoming, it's jumping from one location to the next. It's in America now. We're witnessing the 4th beast coming into existence. So we're gonna listen to this according to what I was saying about that.
Coming from people inventing things in Silicon Valley. It's coming out of the underground bases and the secret projects where, as I've been saying in the books for decades, the cutting edge of technological possibility is light years ahead of anything in the public arena. And what they've been doing is playing this technology out piece by piece by piece into the public arena. And if you notice, there's not been a point where basically people have been sitting around strumming their fingers, waiting for the next level of technology to increase the potential of human control. it's played out, and it's getting faster and faster and faster. Look at it. And it's doing that because it's not waiting to be invented. It was sitting there waiting to be played out. They just need an excuse for it. Because the idea is to turn the globe, the entire human society, into China. China's their blueprint. The Mao Revolution in China was cult stimulated. It was orchestrated by the cult, because what they wanted was a closed society that could incubate a controlled closed society, that could incubate a method of human control, not least technologically, that would eventually be played out across the world. And so you now have the blueprint for global control in China. I've been saying for decades in the books, if you want to see the West tomorrow, look at China today. To the cult, there are no borders, it's just one globe. And China is a very, very big center for this cult, as is Britain and Europe. So you have this technology.
Okay. Any comments? Okay.
And then played out into the public arena. Now, to do that, they need cover stories. They need an explanation of where this stuff came from. And so they have front people. You know, this is how it's been done. It's coming out of the underground bases, long planned and ahead of time. And they're also picking off genuine creative.
So just the GP, in case nobody's familiar with it, when he's referring to these underground bases, is reptoids, reptilian beings, humanoid reptilian beings is down there in these underground bases, and they can't really deal with the surface. They can't deal with the sun. And so, like I was saying before, they go your thing. I've been showing you about all these necks. These long ass necks. Even with the pharaohs, Akhenaten, and all them had a long ass necks. They've been dealing with these beings. Like I said, it's the Most High. Let me read something right quick. So it says, you know, you let this firmate, but it says, I'm in Isaiah. And like I said, they got covered. We let them give us the understanding and let them set the narrative. We're not rightly dividing the word, because they don't, they don't know what they're talking about. So it says, Isaiah 14:29. He says, "Rejoice not thou, O Philistine, because the rod of him that smote thee is broken out of the serpent's root." See that? Reptilian. Serpent got a root. You got a lineage. Out of the serpent's root shall come forth a cockatrice, and his fruit shall be a flying, fiery serpent. So we've been fumbling with that. But like I said, when you're going to go and do some more research on that underground basis or whatever, but this is highly intelligent humanoid beings that they're dealing with. They've been dealing with, mankind been dealing with. And they the ones, like I said, those Project Paperclip, that was German scientists back in World War I. And World War II that's what those scientists was dealing with. That's what Hitler was dealing with. That's where the scientists is getting all their information from, about the rockets and all this technology they coming up with. They're getting it from these serpentine beings in exchange for whatever it is they're getting from them. But that's what they're dealing with. Like I said, it got a section in there, a chapter in David Icke's book, The Biggest Secret. It's What About the Serpents, or something like that, the name of it. But anyway, that's what they're dealing with. And like I said, once you realize that, and you start really opening your eyes up and looking around, you start seeing these reptilian characteristics in people. Like I said, the long necks and These different color eyes, all that. Yahweh ain't create all that. It ain't come from Yahweh. So yeah, so that's what they've been dealing with, and that's who behind, from my take, that's who behind the UFOs and all that. You know, and you got other people, other Israelite groups believe something else, but this is where it's coming from to me. Like I said, he's saying UFOs, angels and UFOs, when the scriptures and Ezekiel tell you they got 6 wings, and you can hear the wings. Let me read it. So you can hear the wings outside when they was coming. So how you gonna be in the UFO? Let me read it. So Ezekiel. So I'm in chapter 1, starting at verse 21. Ezekiel says, and when those went, these went, and when those stood, these stood, and when those were lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up over against them, and the spirit of the living creatures was in the wheels, and the likeness of the firmament above their heads was the living creatures was as the color of terrible crystals stretched forth over their heads above, and under the firmament of their wings, see that, straight, with one toward the other. Everyone had 2, and each covered on this side, and everyone had 2, which covered on that side their bodies. And when they went, I heard the noise. See that? I heard the noise of their wings, like the noise of great waters. See that? So that's when the ocean is roaring. That's how loud. That's how powerful their wings, the flapping of their wings, as the voice of the Almighty, and the voice of speech, as the noise of a host. When they stood, they let down their wings. See that? So I mean, how can they be inside of a UFO when they got this kind of power from the flapping of their wings? So it don't add up. But like I said before, just where our drama coming from, these we go back to time immemorial. These people been dealing with these serpentine beings that been here. They was cast out before Genesis 1 and 1. Okay, let me let some more display.
Who create genuine organizations, and they're buying them up and pulling them in to become part of this web as well. So that's how it's been done. The cult is a network of secret societies and semi-secret groups, which then goes out into the world of the scene. It's not seen in the world of the scene. In the world of the scene, it's Facebook, it's Amazon, it's Microsoft, it's governments, but they're still manipulated and directed by the same global web. And so what you have is a spider in the center, in the shadows. The spider is dictating the agenda. And the strands in the web immediately around the spider are the most exclusive secret societies who absolutely know what's going on. And then as you come out from the spider in the web, you're still in the hidden, you're still in the realm of secret societies, but they're ones that we know about, that we've heard of, the Freemasons, the Knights of Malta, the Knights Templar, the inner core of the Jesuit order, and so on, many, many others. And then as you come out from the spider, you eventually reach what I call the Cusp Organizations. These are organizations that are designed to take the agenda of the spider in the hidden and play it out into the public arena. The world's an open book, because every day you can see things being suggested, things being introduced, laws being introduced, that on the face of it are just random and not connected, but you can see exactly why they're doing it, because it's pushing the agenda on. But if you don't know there's an agenda, you don't know where the world's being taken, these just seem like random and often bewildering decisions. I have this phrase, know the outcome and you'll see the journey. If you don't know the outcome, then daily events seem random. But if you know where the plan is to take the world and to take humanity, then suddenly know the outcome and you see the journey. These random events become very clear stepping stones to that outcome.
Yeah. So an example of that is, anybody familiar with the Georgia Guidestones? Hello?
I've never heard of it.
The Georgia Guidestones, they got these 5 stones, huge stones over in Georgia. We're just telling you the agenda for the so-called secret societies or the Bilderbergers. They got a list of, they got a protocol on these stones. It's written in 5 different languages, telling you that they want to reduce down the world's population down to 500 million people. So if you haven't heard of it, just Google it. Go to YouTube and type in the search block the Georgia Guidestones. So anyway, these stones been there for forever. I think for at least 30 or 40 years. So it's telling you what they want to do. They want to reduce the population. But look what's going on. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to figure out what they're doing. They told you they got over there written in stone what they want to do in 5 different languages. So, I mean, now everybody all up in the uproar because of what's going on. They already tell you what they're going to do, what their expectations are, what their projections are. Okay.
So much has come out of the shadows and it's been put on public display. This is why so many people, compared with before, have awakened to the fact that the world's not run by the forces and the people they thought it was before, which has been a positive outcome of this. But the cult can't avoid that, you see, because when you've worked for such a long time under the radar, keeping secret what you want to do to the world, there comes a point where you actually have to do that to the world and transform it in the way you've been planning all these decades and centuries. And at that point, you can't hide it. So instead of hiding it, you sell it as a good thing or as the only thing possible in the circumstances. In terms of, this cult having power, it depends how you look at it. They've created a power structure in the sense of money. They've created this system where banks and financial institutions are creating money that doesn't exist called credit and charging interest on it, and thus getting the population into enormous amounts of debt on money that has never, does not, and will never exist. It's just theoretical. That's what credit is. When you go into a bank and you want to borrow 100,000 euros or something, they don't create 100,000 euros physically. They just put it on the screen because they through what's called fractional reserve lending, they are able to lend vastly more than they actually have, and therefore they can just type 100,000 euros into your account, and from that moment you have to pay back that money, or theoretical money, and interest upon it, which is never created, which is why there's never enough money to pay back all the debt. And all they've done is create money out of nothing called credit. So that's their power base in terms of the way they've structured society. Because people say, oh, it's all about money and it's all about greed, but only on one level. The greed and the money system and control of the money system, who has money and who doesn't.
Okay. Any comment?
Excuse me. I want to say in that book, The Biggest Secret,
Right.
there's a chapter in there that's called The Secret Language. And it tells you a lot about the symbols they use, the reason why they chose the city that they did. That's a really good chapter to refer to. Also, it'll enlighten you on a lot of things. When you think certain symbols don't mean anything, it's simple. It's not.
Right. Like I was saying before, it's not even for you. They communicating back and forth with each other. They ain't, we just, they consider us sheep. We don't really count. They do, all we do is, they give us 50 years, 60 years to live, and you just working, put money into a system they didn't create. Then even in Hollywood, like I say, it's just not until recently people start waking up and finding out and understanding how to read those movies. But the movies that never was designed for us. The movies they talking back and forth with each other with the movies, and they making money off of it because we running and go and watch it. But it ain't for us because we ain't. I know for years I already know nothing about what they was doing in the movies.
Shalom.
It woke me up.
Shalom.
Yeah. Go ahead.
You know what it made me think of?
What's that?
In Denver, Colorado, at the airport.
Right.
You know how they have that big mural?
Right.
And they want to make it seem like the artist is just expressing himself.
Right.
But I mean, it's some deep stuff
Right.
going on in that mural.
Right. Yeah. I did a couple of videos on that on Prophets Awakening. One of them was about how that little red-haired boy I told you, I got a picture of him over there standing on the square, on the Mason Square, with the redhead.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, like I said, we see Harry, on the world stage. Yeah, every time you look up, he got something to do with it. And then they got him on in Bank of America. They got those same murals that's in the airport in Denver and platted all over the walls in the Bank of America.
And you know what else, Brother Leonard? My son was there for a few days and he ended up in the hospital there because he could breathe. That high altitude.
Right.
Now you got to think where these places are. It's where they are.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And they got that weird looking horse out there out in the at the airport, out in the middle of the airport. It's big horse, black horse with red eyes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they talking to the people that know, and the ones that's halfway awake and they do they do their research on it.
Right. Yeah. And along with all those secret tunnels too, that's there in Denver.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that stuff. The thing about that is when you go into that and figure it out, that stuff been there because, like I said, they dealing with these beings, serpentine beings, 10, 12 feet tall, that's been under there operating. They can't deal with the surface. That's what I was saying when you go back and look at what I was telling you about the melanin. That's what he breathed in the atom. So the melanin is a system within itself, but all humans don't have it. So when the sun comes, that melanin protects us from the sun, but it's some people on the planet, sun killing them by the thousands every year. Same with these beings. So what's going on with that? Well, that's why when he cursed the serpent, he took the melanin from him. He cursed Cain, he took the melanin. So they can't deal with the sun. So we know based on that, when his anger is kindled, that's what he do. So these are Satan, Lucifer, he was cursed. If you go look at the scriptures, he cursed him. So then he cursed those other 1/3 of the angels, serpentine beings. He cursed them. And like I was saying before, when the flood came, it tells you he destroyed everything on the earth, not in the water. These serpentine beings, they was in when the Most High came and they was moving on the water. They was in the water then. And you go back to and read in history, it's even in the scriptures where these beings coming up out the water. How the intelligent beings coming up out of the water. They're seeing these UFOs coming up out of the water, up and down, coming out of the water. Same thing. So they've been there. They've been operating. One one of the things that the guy David Icke was telling us is about, call it the pyramid structure, or the pyramid compartmentalization, where at the top of the pyramid is the one that's on the back of our money. That very top, that little capsule at the top, is these beings. Everything else is leading up to them, but they the head. They the one they're dealing with. The government officials and people up in high places, these coded groups and all that. That's who they're dealing with. These beings. And like I said, it may sound foreign to somebody ain't never heard it before, but Most High tell you right in the scriptures. That's who He divided the earth up with at the Tower of Babel. Yeah. So so all this come into play. Once you go, you got to get to the point where you understand it. Be diligent, do your research. Any comments? Okay, so what I'm gonna do right here before I start reading out of the book of Barak, I'm gonna open it up for some Q&A for questions. Anybody have any questions or comments about anything we've been dealing with or they came across? And then I go into I'll read a couple chapters out of the book of Barak. Okay. Nobody have no questions or comments about anything? Okay. Yeah, like I was saying before, let me look. I got it right here. So you give the name of that. This David Icke. It's let me get it. Yeah, this thing is called yeah, there you go. Give me 1 minute. Yeah, it's called Pyramid of Manipulation. And it's also when in the scriptures when it talks about Genesis chapter 6, the Anunnaka or the Nephilim and the Anunnaka that came down, that's the serpentine beings. Like I said, you go and do your research on Akhenaten and Tutankhamun and all them. They had the long necks. They had extremely long necks, serpentine looking necks. And you see the pictures of it, and you'll see it. So anyway, so it says that it says levels of knowledge and hierarchy within the institutions is from just like in a bank. You got a cashier in the bank that comes in, makes $5 or $6 an hour, don't know what's going on back in the back of the bank. All they in there for is to come in there and deal with people that come in the bank, but they don't know what's going on. It's called compartmentalization. So it's the same thing with the world, structure of the world, the way the world's set up. The average person don't even know all this going on. It's just like the teller is in the bank. But all this stuff, and it's been in place from time immemorial. And that's who the Most High actually coming, when He come in to cast all this stuff down and destroy this. That's what we got. That's where He's starting it. These serpentine beings that's been here manipulating everything behind the scenes, and that's who these Canaanites was going up in the high places worshiping. So I'm gonna show you the book right quick. I think I showed it before, but I'll show you again. Here you go right here. Called The Biggest Secret. Right here. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, it's called The Biggest Secret. So that's like the Bible. You wanna, you wanna love the Bible around, you love that around with it. Because it's gonna connect a lot of dots for you. Okay, so nobody have no questions. I'm gonna start reading out of the Book of Barak. Book of Barak. Let me get it. Man, okay, here we go. Okay, okay. I'm in the Book of Barak, chapter 2. So the Lord made good His word, which He had uttered against us and against our judges, who judge Israel, and against our kings and against our officials, and against the men of Israel and Judah. Uh, Nowhere under heaven has such calamities occurred as He has brought upon Jerusalem, as it is written in the law of Moses, so that one of us ate the flesh of our son, and another of us ate the flesh of our daughter. He has made us subject to all the kings around us, and to be a reproach and a desolation among all the people about us, for the Lord has scattered them. They were brought low and not raised up, because we have sinned against the Lord our God in not obeying His voice. Uprightness belongs to the Lord our God. Okay, uprightness belongs to the Lord our God, but confusion of face befits us and our forefathers as it does this day. All the calamities which the Lord threatened us have overtaken us, yet we have not besought the Lord by turning away each of us from the design of his wicked heart. And the Lord has watched for these calamities and has brought them upon us. For the Lord is upright in all his doings, which he has commanded us uh, to imitate. Yet we have not obeyed his voice and followed the Lord's commands, which he has set before us. And now, Lord God of Israel, who brought your people out of Egypt with a strong hand and with portents and wonders and with great power and uplifted arm, and made yourself such a name as yours is today. We have sinned, we have been ungodly, we have done wrong, Lord our God, in the face of all your ordinances. Let your anger be turned away from us, for few of us are left among the heathen, where you have scattered us. Listen, Lord, to our prayer and to our petition, and for your sake, deliver us and grant us favor in the eyes of those who have led us to captivity, so that the whole earth may know that you are the Lord our God, for Israel and his descendants are called by your name. Lord, look down from your holy dwelling and think about us. Turn your ear to us, Lord, and hear us. Open your eyes and see. For the dead who are in Hades, whose breath has been taken from their bodies, cannot ascribe glory and uprightness to the Lord. But the soul grieves greatly that goes about bent over and sick with a failing sight. The soul that hungers will ascribe glory and uprightness to you, Lord, for it is not for the upright acts of our forefathers or our kings that we present our prayer for pity before you, O Lord our God, for you have inflicted your anger and your wrath upon us, just as you promised through your servants, the prophets, to do when you said, thus says the Lord, bow your shoulders and work for the kingdom of Babylon and stay in the land which I gave to your forefathers. But if you will not obey the voice of the Lord and serve the king of Babylon, I will put an end to the sound of joy and the sound of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride in the towns of Judah and in Jerusalem, and the whole country will become untrodden and uninhabited. But we did not obey your voice and serve the king of Babylon, and you made good your words that you had spoken through your servants, the prophets, that the bones of our kings and the bones of our forefathers should be taken out of their places, and behold, they are thrown out to the heat by day and to the frost by night, and they perish in great misery by famine and the sword and exposure. And the house that is called by your name you have made it as it is this day, because of the wickedness of our house of Israel and the house of Judah. Yet you have dealt with us, O Lord our God, with all your forbearance and all your great compassion, as you promised through your servant Moses to do. And when you commanded him to write the law before the sins of Israel, and said, unless you obey my voice, this great buzzing multitude will surely turn into a small number among the heathens, where I will scatter them. For I know that they will not listen to me, for they are stiff-necked people. But in the land to which they are carried away, they will come to themselves, and they will know that I am the Lord their God. And I will give them minds and ears to listen, and they will praise me in the land to which they are carried away. And they will remember my name, and they will turn from their obstinacy and their wicked doings, for they will remember what befell their forefathers, who sinned in the sight of the Lord. Then will I restore them to the land that I have sworn to give to their fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and they will possess it, and I will multiply them, and they will not be despised. And I will make an everlasting agreement with them, that I shall be their God, and they shall be my people, and I will never again remove my people Israel from the land which I have given them. O Lord Almighty, let me see where I'm at. Okay, yeah. So that was chapter 2. Anybody got any comments on what they just heard? Okay, I want to find out something. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Was he talking about us, or was he talking about us or them? When we supposed to remember who our God is in the land of our captivity?
Well, it's the same way when you read this right here. This is when they was in the captivity in Babylon. That's why I was saying when you see what happened in Egypt, see what happened in Babylon, the same thing's gonna happen now. So right here, when Nebuchadnezzar came, we know it was 2 baskets of figs, right?
Right.
Okay, so there's a lot of people getting killed because he told them, your sons and your daughters and all them gonna be strolled all over the mountainside. So when the Chaldeans came, there was a lot of Israelites got killed. So he's telling them right here, unless you obey my voice, this great buzzing multitude, because he had brought about the promise that he had told Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob that they was going to be like the sands of the sea. So when the 12 tribes, by the time David got there and the kings and all them, he had completed that promise. There was a buzzing multitude. So he says, unless you obey my voice, this great buzzing multitude will surely turn into a small number among the heathens, where I will scatter them. So they was only in Babylon 70 years. So imagine how long we've been over here. There ain't no whole bunch of Israelites. There ain't no whole bunch of people waking up. That's what people gotta understand. So he says, I know that they will not listen to me, for they are stiff-necked people. But in the land in which they are carried away, they will come to themselves, and they will know that I am the Lord their God. And I will give them minds and ears to listen, and they will praise me in the land which they are carried away, and they will remember my name, and they will turn from their obstinacy and their wicked doings. That's exactly what's happening now. You see, those whose spirit he raised, they're waking up. But the numbers that people think, it ain't the numbers they think. So let's look at that. I'm going to scriptures right quick. I'm going to Deuteronomy 28. Show you it's nothing new under the sun. I'm in Deuteronomy 28, and it says, 59 says, then the Lord will make the plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, and long continuous, and sore sickness, and long continuous. Long means, like I said, what Hosea told us. after 3 days, after 2 days, 2,000 years. So he said 60. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou was afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. Also, every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, them will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed, and you shall be left few in number. See that? Same thing over there in Jeremiah when they was in Babylon. He said, there ain't nothing new in the sun. He said, ye shall be left few in number, whereas you were as the stars of the heaven for a multitude. That's what he had promised Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because thou wouldst not obey the voice of the Lord thy God. Okay? Somebody say something?
Hey, I was just gonna say I noticed in the book of Jasher that he killed a lot of Israelites with that 10th plague too, because they loved Egypt and didn't want to leave Egypt.
Exactly. Right. Right. So when you said he changed not. So same thing happened then is going to take place today. We witnessing the same thing. More and more information, the more and more revelations come, you see, and you see it ain't JC. Yeah. Okay. So with that being said, anybody else got anything they want to anything they want to bring out, comments or whatever before we close out?
I just wanted to say for 2 and 35, I will make an everlasting covenant with them to be their God, and they shall be my people. And I will never again remove my people from Israel from the land that I have given them. That is just like what he's saying in Jeremiah 31 about the new covenant. Behold, 31 and 31.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, once you see what's going on, it's just like I said, the day of the Lord. They want you to think it's only one day of the Lord, but the day of the Lord when he came and delivered them that night from Egypt, that was the day of the Lord. The Lord showed up. Lord of hosts. Then when he came in Babylon, the day of the Lord came. And he delivered the Israelites out of Babylon. And so we waiting on the day of the Lord to come now. This day of his visitation. That's all the day of the Lord is. Yeah. So yeah. So anybody else got anything? Yeah, I got something. I got a little announcement right quick after I turn. I'm gonna cut this out first, and then I'm gonna talk about it. So let me stop this right here. Yeah, I want to say shalom, and I'll see women tomorrow for women's line, and then we'll see everybody else on Friday at 8 o'clock.